A Texas town is reeling after a military vet opened fire on his mother-in-law's church.
And the death of a student spells grave consequences for Greek life at Florida State University.
Plus, a global art project has Angelenos and Dreamers in downtown LA sharing their portraits and their stories.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
I asked that question all night long. Why? Why did this happen in our small community? But only God has the answers.
A day after the deadliest mass shooting in Texas history, authorities are looking into the gunman's history of domestic violence. Good evening, I'm Dan Toomey.
And I'm Sophia Bosk. Trump administration officials say the military didn't submit the shooter's criminal history to the FBI like they were supposed to. Charges could have kept him from buying a gun. Investigators say the man who killed 26 people was in a Texas church, was not motivated by race or religion. Law enforcement has not confirmed why he did it, but the shooter had a history of domestic abuse. Sunday morning, officials say Devin Kelly sent threatening texts to his mother-in-law. He may have been targeting her when he fired into the church she usually attends. The youngest victim was 18 months, and the oldest was 77.
We don't want to overshadow the other lives lost yesterday. We lost more than Belle yesterday. And one thing that gives me a sliver of encouragement is the fact that Belle was surrounded yesterday by her church family that she loved fiercely. Now most of our church family is gone. Our building is probably beyond repair. And the few of us that are left behind lost tragically yesterday.
According to officials, Devin Kelly was an Air Force veteran. In 2012, he was court-martialed after assaulting his ex-wife and child. Kelly's rank was reduced. He served a year in military prison, and he was discharged from the service in May of 2014.
What I can confirm, there was 3 firearms that had been recovered. One was the Ruger 5.56 rifle that was recovered at the scene of the church. I also can confirm that all 3 of these firearms were purchased by the deceased suspect.
And this tragedy is hitting home even here in Los Angeles. Our reporter Brittany Hope is live at USC's Religious Center, where the vigil for the victims is just wrapping up. Brittany?
Thanks, Sophia. I'm here at the University Religious Center in the courtyard, where you can see there's still candles lit up behind me. A vigil just finished celebrating the lives of those victims whose lives were lost yesterday in the most recent shooting in our nation in Texas. Now, there's about 40 students, faculty, staff, even DPS officers gathered here for moments of silence, for prayer, and for reflection on yesterday's events. Now, one student, ironically enough, was actually from the town in Texas. He says both of his parents work in the local hospital and are still working to help aid the victims. Another student stepped forward who says he's from India and says his parents sent him here to America to feel safer and for him to enjoy his university experience. Instead, he said he feels less safe here, that he feels almost every day on his phone he's receiving notification about yet another national tragedy. Now, in the face of these recent national tragedies, the conversation of mental health is back again, and people are saying and people are asking how to cope after these situations. I was able to speak with some experts earlier today on how civilians, those involved, and communities can move forward after our nation's most recent tragedy. Last month, it was a music festival in Las Vegas. Last week, it was a bike path in New York. And yesterday, it was a small church in Sutherland Springs, Texas.
Be with us, dear, as we learn to deal with this.
Police say Devin Patrick Kelly stormed the Baptist church yesterday during morning services, killing 26 people. This makes it the 5th largest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. The Wilson County Sheriff says this isn't out of the ordinary.
It's something we all say does not happen in small communities. Well, we found out today it does. As media, don't blow it out there that, it should have never happened. because it does happen.
Experts like David Schoenfeld are concerned that when tragedies like this happen so often, they become normalized.
There is a tendency for people who are not directly or indirectly affected by these events to start to not see them as novel anymore, which I think is a bad situation. When we hear a lot about it and it doesn't touch us personally in any way, that it makes us feel a little unsafe, but we also start to tune it out.
USC student Vanessa McConville was at the Route 91 festival in Vegas when she heard shots ring out. She and her best friend ran and hid for nearly half an hour under bleachers. She says she's still trying to cope with that night.
Right now it's just a lot more like triggering, like sounds and even environments, like being in large crowds of people is like very scary. There is always that fear that I think is going to take a long time to kind of decrease in me. When I heard about the New York incident and then the San Antonio shooting, like it definitely like hits home and my heart just dropped.
Dean of Religious Life Varun Soni says for these events to stop happening, we must unite not only as a nation, but also as a campus.
Having a national response where people across faith lines, across ethnic lines, across racial lines are coming together as one is the first step in a healing process. We cannot normalize this. We cannot get comfortable with this. We cannot accept this as just a fact of life. What happens around the world happens on our campus.
For USC students who feel like they need to talk to someone about these recent events, there's a new office on campus specializing just for recent national tragic events. The name of the office is the Office of Campus Wellness and Crisis Intervention, and it's being led by Dean Suni and by administration. Now, if you want to give them a call, we'll show that number here for you below. The number is 213-740-6110. Again, that is the Office of Campus Wellness and Crisis Intervention that's being led by the Center for Religious Life here on campus. Now, of course, there are still the other counseling services that are offered at Engelman, and they also have their 24-hour crisis hotline that you can give a call now if you feel like you need support. Of course, throughout our broadcast, if we receive any more updates from Texas, we will be sure to keep you updated. Live from the University Religious Center, this is Brittany Hope. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Brittany. Florida State University is suspending all Greek-related activities. This comes just days after a pledge died at the school's Pi Kappa Phi fraternity, and another fraternity member was recently arrested for drug trafficking. 20-year-old Andrew Coffey died at a party Friday night after he was found unconscious. Investigators say they suspect alcohol was the cause. FSU President John E. Thrasher decided to suspend all campus fraternities and sororities indefinitely.
For this suspension to end, there will need to be a new normal for Greek life at the university. There must be a new culture for our students, and they must participate in creating that culture.
In a statement following Coffey's death, the CEO of Pi Kappa Phi said, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the student's family and friends. We appreciate the partnership and support from the Division of Student Affairs during this difficult time. The suspensions following Coffey's death have created mixed reactions on campus for FSU students."
There's been some pushback, but there's also been some people who agree with it, who have not really been supportive of Greek life and a lot of their practices already. Depending on how long the suspension lasts, it could really impact the FSU community, especially since it takes up a fourth of the community, and even after that, it still impacts people otherwise.
Greek life at FSU is suspended from all campus activities until further notice, including the university's homecoming events this weekend.
A former student of an Orange County university pleaded not guilty today to criminal charges. 40-year-old David Kenny Smith is accused of sending a threatening video to an instructor last week. If convicted, he could face up to 3 years in prison. The video showed Smith sitting with a semi-automatic pistol and talking about Soka University. On his YouTube channel, other recently recorded videos showed Smith threatening to go on a killing spree. The Orange County Police Department arrested Smith last week. They confiscated 9 loaded firearms, which were all registered to him. Smith is being held on $1 million bail. We reached out to Soka University for comment, and they referred us to the Orange County Sheriff's Department. 7 USC Cinematic Arts students have started an online petition to rename the school's Bryan Singer Division of Cinema and Media Studies. Singer has been accused of sexual abuse in the past.
I mean, I certainly hope that they receive this and really consider removing Singer's name from our division, because this is something they have to know about. Like, the administration has to know about these allegations, and they have to understand the culture of sexual assault and sexual misconduct that permeates Hollywood and just the world in 2017 at large. And I think that I would really love for them to see this petition and see the enthusiastic student response to it.
The petitioners say USC shouldn't be associated with the director. Singer has denied all previous allegations. The petition began this morning, and by 5 p.m., it had almost 800 signatures. Annenberg Media reached out to the School of Cinematic Arts, but received no response.
It's time to enroll in the Affordable Care Act for millions of people. Annenberg Media's Leslie Ombries shows us how Covered California is bringing the information to local communities.
Health insurance is not a fun topic, but it's one that HealthNet volunteers are trying to make easier and even enjoyable. Covered California is bringing the information to you through the HealthNet mobile trailer. The traveling office brings information to communities across the state.
We do also events like in Plaza Mexico or like in little festivals. That's where we get more of the young people.
Enrollment for health coverage under the Affordable Care Act opened last week and will close at the end of January.
If you wait till January 30th, their coverage won't start until March 1st. So that's the thing. So if you do it by December 1st, January 1st is your coverage.
Insurance agents try to provide knowledge on the best plan based on your yearly income.
And if you can't make it to any one of HealthNet's events, you can always access the website online and via your mobile device. All you're going to do is go to coveredcalifornia.com, scroll down to shop and compare, enter a little bit of your information, and they'll be able to give you all the help that you need.
It should be noted that anyone with a yearly income under $17,000 automatically qualifies for Medi-Cal. Liddell Insurance agent Karina Hilario says the best plan for college students is the Silver 94 plan.
The doctor visits are only $5, the medicine is only $3, and the payments vary between $50, $60 a month depending on the carrier.
Covered California's public information officer expects more than 1.4 million people to register for the program this year. For Annenberg Media, I'm Leslie Ombries.
The digital currency Bitcoin is attracting investor attention as it sees huge price spikes.
Plus, a nationwide initiative is stopping off in Pershing Square to paint downtown with portraits.
And the charred remains of the La Tuna Canyon fire are getting a makeover from anonymous LA artists.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
The Inside Out Dreamers Art Project arrived in LA today. The goal is to put a face on the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA. Annenberg Media's Erica Klein shows us the art project.
A photo booth van from the Inside Out project is taking portraits of anyone who wants to show support for DACA recipients. The photos are pasted on the ground in an art installation in downtown LA. This comes after President Trump's decision to end the DACA program. Ellie Seth is a DACA recipient.
It was really weird
weird because I hate taking pictures, so it was really weird to see a picture of you like blown up. It's really fun, and like seeing your face down when it's plastered with everybody else and everybody is undocumented or they're an ally. It's really heartwarming to see everybody out there.
All these faces, all this.
Gonzalo Rios is undocumented, but not a DACA recipient.
Like myself, seeing like there's other folks that are going through this, and they're not afraid to show their face anymore. Before it was like coming out of shadows, but what it meant, like what does it mean coming out of shadows? Now your face is on the wall. It's like, no, we're not going anywhere. We're staying here.
There are 2 photo booth trucks that have been taking portraits for this project across the United States. The West Coast truck is in LA on its 4th stop, and you can already see some of the portraits that were taken this morning laid out for viewing in Pershing Square. Paola Ramos is one of the project organizers. She says the event is intended to encourage members of Congress to support the DREAM Act to replace DACA.
That's key, right? It can't wait any longer. It's been years already. There's people that are at risk of being deported. They're already being deported. So what we're trying to do is continue to add a sense of urgency.
The photo booth truck will be in LA for one more day, then we'll head up to Bakersfield. For Annenberg Media, I'm Erica Klein.
And now for the weather. It has been a little bit chilly this week. It's my favorite time of the year, that sweater weather.
Right? I'm looking forward to finally being able to layer. Lindsay, do we feel the same way over there?
Exactly, guys. It finally feels like fall, so cozy up with those pumpkin spice lattes, hot chocolate, whatever it is you drink when it gets cold out. Make sure you bring a jacket. Let's take a look at your current conditions. As you can see right now, it's 65 degrees out. Earlier today, it was in the low 70s, but as you can see, that temperature is going to keep dropping, especially now that it's getting dark out earlier. Let's see how it's going to look like in Southern California tomorrow. As you can see, cooling down in Big Bear really a lot, as well in Palm Springs. And now as we go up into the valley, it's really cool near the coast. Definitely feels like fall. We're not in that 100-degree weather anymore. It's great weather out there. Coming back here closer to USC, as you can see tomorrow, it's in the low 70s throughout this area, and it's going to be pretty cloudy throughout the week. Taking a look at your 5-day forecast, you can see clouds throughout the week, maybe sunny in the afternoon, but the clouds are going to come back at night for sure. But it's not supposed to rain for the next few weeks, so enjoy this weather while it lasts before it gets wet out there. So this weekend, Bitcoin value peaked at over $7,500. Looking at this chart, it's clear to see why investors are interested in the digital currency. Bitcoin's price has risen over 600% compared to the NASDAQ and Dow index, which increased 26% and 19%. So far, the investor community is pretty small, but banks and large funds are just waiting to get in on the action.
It's kind of like reached a point where they don't really have a choice but to start investing in it because there's so much money to make. It's also a very easy market to manipulate because there's not a lot of people in it. There's not as much volume as, say, like the stock market. So there's obviously potential for them to make a lot of money. I think the hesitation, one, the volatility, but maybe the more important aspect is like the legality behind it.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has still not released regulations on virtual currencies, but with all this pressure from high-profile funds, they'll need to come up with a decision sooner rather than later.
Very interesting. Possibly a new investment opportunity. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Lindsay.
Hope you guys figure it out.
Yeah. And Nick, I know that it's been an eventful week in sports.
Sounds like it, but also an art installation has popped up in the hills of Los Angeles where fires burned in September. Annenberg Media's Helen Arese shows us how the burned hillside is getting a new life with a little color.
Latuna Canyon's trees turned gold over the weekend. The burned trunks and branches are part of an art installation called Lost and Found LA.
It kind of inspires me a little bit to, see the world differently than what's just presented to you.
Latuna Fire this September burned more than 7,000 acres of dry chaparral, as well as 5 buildings. At the peak of the fire, hundreds of residents in Glendale, Burbank, and the San Fernando Valley evacuated their homes. 2 months later, the trees of Latuna Canyon are now canvases for an anonymous art collective to express the philosophical message of kintsugi. Kintsugi is a Japanese art form and philosophy where the cracks of pottery are filled in with gold lacquer. So the idea of this installation is the same thing, that these trees that were harmed by the fires are also filled in with gold. The Golden Repair embraces the damage instead of hiding it. How is the installation affecting those who visit?
The fact that they went out of their way to paint everything, and even just how far they went with it kind of adds a whole other aspect to it, that it's not just one little spot. You can kind of see that they wandered with the paint.
The trees of Lost and Found LA can be found at the end of Del Arroyo off of Latuna Canyon Road through November 12th during daylight hours. For Annenberg Media, I'm Helen Arase.
And I was clearly excited earlier. Nick, give us a little look at sports.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sophia. We'll talk about legendary voice of the Dodgers, Vince Scully, and his thoughts on the national anthem protests across the NFL. The women's soccer tournament bracket was just released today. We'll join Julia Poe to talk about what the Trojans will be coming up against this postseason. And football is playing like a preseason top 10 team again. We'll break down their victory against the Arizona Wildcats and what they need to do to clinch their spot in the Pac-12 championship game.
You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to SaveTheFood.com.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
The USC Trojan football team moved up 2 spots to number 15 in the Associated Press poll this week, thanks to a complete victory in their top 25 matchup against the University of Arizona Wildcats. SC flexed their strength against U of A, with star tailback Ronald Jones II rushing for 194 yards and 3 touchdowns, securing his second consecutive 1,000-yard rushing season. Quarterback Sam Darnold finished with a 77% completion percentage, linking up with receiver Tyler Vaughns for a team-high 4 catches and a touchdown. Linebacker Owole Betaku Jr. talked postgame about the team's mindset.
Family is all that matters to us. We don't let the negativity get to us. We just stay positive and stay working as a team. And, we're always going to come out victorious as long as we stay positive and we keep working and playing at our best.
After defeating a streaking Arizona team featuring Heisman hopeful Khalil Tate, the Trojans head to Boulder this weekend to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. With a victory on Saturday, SC would clinch the Pac-12 South and a spot in the Pac-12 title game. So look for the team to come out firing against last year's Pac-12 South winners. And women's soccer traveled to our crosstown rivals in Westwood to take on the number 5 UCLA Bruins. The number 6 Trojans were energetic at the start, going up 2-1 at the half. UCLA was able to even the game on a breakaway goal by Annika Rodriguez and came out victorious with an overtime goal that deflected off a Trojan defender. We heard from head coach Keidani McAlpine on how his squad will get ready for the postseason.
Just like last year, we have a chance to redeem ourselves, fix some mistakes. All 3 goals were preventable. The tactic on the day was good. We had some chances that we probably should have put away in the first half. So we'll go back, we'll watch film, we'll get ready. We'll wait for the draw on Monday and we'll get after it.
Now, just a couple hours ago, the Division I Women's Soccer Championship bracket was announced, and we have sports correspondent Julia Poe to break down the Trojans' road to Orlando.
Thanks, Nick. It's deja vu for the women's soccer team, which found out today that it will face a familiar foe in the opening round of the NCAA College Cup.
The team gathered at Heritage Hall on Monday to watch the selection live. The Trojans earned a number 3 seed and will host Eastern Washington, who they defeated 3-1 in the first round on the way to the national championship last year.
Obviously, there's a little confidence, but at the same time, it's got to be reserved because every year is a little different. We're a lot different.
This team is very different from the one that clinched last year's championship. 7 players graduated from that squad, and this year's roster boasts 7 true freshmen.
You know that your leadership role has stepped up
one more notch than it was last year. I think it's a lot about just making sure that our younger kids stay calm and just stay focused and know as much as it's sort of a winner go home game, it's still just another game.
But after back-to-back losses to Stanford and UCLA, the reigning champs are hungry to prove themselves in the first round.
Since day one, even since our preseason games, every team has been gunning for us. We're not going to treat Eastern Washington any different than we did Stanford or UCLA, because at the end of the day, it is a winner-go-home mentality, so we have to win.
The team is hoping to return to the championship in Orlando this year, but the road to the Cup starts at home in that first-round game at McAllister Field this Saturday. Back to you.
Thanks for that report, Julia. And even after the Dodgers World Series run, legendary announcer Vin Scully continues to stay in the spotlight. Scully shared his thoughts regarding the NFL National Anthem protests during an event at the Pasadena Civic Center on Sunday. When asked what he thought about the protests, Scully said, quote, "I am so disappointed, and I used to love during the fall and winter to watch the NFL on Sunday. I was in the Navy for a year, didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, but I have overwhelming respect and admiration for anyone who puts on a uniform and goes to war. I will never watch another NFL game." Now, CBS radio host John Kincaid tweeted that he respects Scully and his work, but doesn't care about what he does on Sundays. He cares about what 7th graders follow the crowd for, like Vin Scully. It will be interesting to follow more reactions to Scully's comments as the week goes on. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. And
Nick.
in other news,
Exactly. Coming up, see how California plans to profit from state taxes on legal marijuana next year.
we'll be right back.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
The cost of marijuana is jumping 15% thanks to a new state tax. It applies to both recreational and medical marijuana. Legal marijuana businesses worry that this new tax could hurt their businesses. A 3-gram bag of weed will go up from $30 to nearly $60. Green Cross LAX dispensary owner Jenna Chan says higher costs will increase black market sales.
The black market in Los Angeles is the largest black market in the world, and it will rage on even worse. Prop 64 makes the taxation too much. The people that really need the marijuana for medicine are not going to be able to afford it.
The tax is set to go into effect January 1st, 2018. Thank you very much for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Dan Toomey.
And I'm Sophia Bosk. You can catch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.
All right, hey, a little early, great show, right?
Oh, yeah.